Have you ever stopped to think that you might actually be a genius without even realizing it? Now, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right off the bat. Come on, my grades in school were completely average. Or, I struggle with everyday basic stuff. There's no way I'm a genius. But listen, when I talk about hidden intelligence, I'm not talking about the kids who got a perfect 100% on every single exam. The real definition of a genius goes way deeper than that. If you take a second to look closer, you might discover a hidden superpower you've been ignoring your whole life. Sure, anyone can study hard and get smart, but neuroscientists have actually uncovered specific daily habits that prove you're naturally wired for success. These aren't just guesses, they're backed by years of brain research. Stick around until the end, see how many boxes you check, and find out if you're fundamentally different from the crowd. Sign 10. You keep your inner circle extremely small. First up, you don't have a massive group of friends. Society always pushes this idea that being popular, constantly surrounded by people, makes you happier. But social psychology actually says the exact opposite for highly intelligent individuals. There's this thing evolutionary psychologists call the savanna theory of happiness. Basically, they found that while average people feel happier the more they socialize, those with a high IQ actually experience lower life satisfaction when they hang out with friends too often. Why? Well, a genius brain is naturally hyper-focused on long-term goals and big-picture ideas. To them, constant socializing, small talk, everyday drama, it's just a frustrating distraction. So, if your friend group is tiny and you can count your close friends on one hand, you're not antisocial. Your brain just prioritizes purpose over popularity. Sign 9. You have a serious lazy streak. Believe it or not, studies have shown that brilliant people are actually way lazier than the average person. Now, don't use this as an excuse to just quit trying. There's a real scientific explanation behind it. Think about it this way. Out of all the food you eat and the energy your body burns every day, your brain alone consumes a massive 20% of it. When someone with high cognitive ability is working on a problem, overthinking a concept, or just trying to figure out how something works, their brain burns way more energy than a normal brain because it's processing at a much higher frequency. This intense mental workout drains them fast, which makes them physically sluggish. But there's another side to this. Geniuses hate wasting effort, so they're constantly looking for shortcuts and productivity hacks to make life easier. Honestly, that specific kind of laziness is exactly why our technology is so advanced today. Lazy geniuses are the ones who look at a tedious task and just invent a way to automate it. Take the TV remote, for example. Someone got tired of walking all the way across the room just to change the channel, and boom, the remote control was born. So again, don't just slouch on the couch all day after hearing this. I'm just telling you what the data says. Sign 8. You easily get addicted to things. Whenever we get hooked on something, it's usually driven by a brain chemical called dopamine. Because a genius has a much more powerful brain, their dopamine sensitivity is dialed all the way up. Essentially, their brain constantly wants to feel stimulated and operate at a high level. As a result, they tend to develop intense fixations. It could be an obsession with video games, a dependency on their smartphone, or honestly, just any kind of hyper-focus. Now, I don't know if I'm a genius or just a regular guy, but I definitely have an addiction of my own. And that's making these psychology videos for you guys. Sign 7. You're not a big fan of crowds. Avoiding crowded parties or dodging networking events are usually viewed as negative traits by society. But interestingly enough, these exact traits show up most frequently in people with highly complex, intelligent minds. Because their thought processes are so intricate, navigating typical social scenes can feel incredibly draining. Their actual interests and views on life are usually light years away from what the rest of the crowd cares about. And there's plenty of research backing this up. Highly intelligent people simply prefer their own space over a crowded room. Sign 6. You constantly crave adventure and new experiences. If you're someone who absolutely loves traveling and exploring new places, give yourself another point. A genius mind thrives on discovering the unknown. In psychology, there's a term called novelty seeking, which is really just a fancy way of describing the intense urge to experience new things. Geniuses have an incredibly high drive for novelty. They're always looking to expand their horizons. Even watching a video like this, where you're picking up fascinating facts second by second, that satisfies your brain's craving for novelty. So, if you're subscribed to the channel and always looking to absorb new knowledge, pat yourself on the back. You're thinking like a genius. Sign 5. Your brain races right before you fall asleep. If you have a habit of laying in bed and overanalyzing everything right before you drift off to sleep, welcome to the club. If your mind spends those quiet moments reviewing what went wrong yesterday, what happened today, and plotting out exactly how tomorrow is going to play out, it's a massive indicator of high mental activity. It's essentially running simulations to make sure you can handle whatever life throws at you next. While average people can just turn their brains off and pass out, a genius's mind is a 24/7 operation. They look at every tiny detail of life under a microscope. Sign 4. You are deeply, incurably curious. Geniuses are driven by pure curiosity. Now, everyone has a basic level of curiosity, but for a genius, it's next level. If you have this burning, almost obsessive need to know the why behind everything, it's a textbook sign of intelligence. Studies show that people with this high level of curiosity actually have a higher density of neurons in their brains compared to the average population. That structural difference is exactly what forces you to look at the world and want to pull it apart to see how it ticks. Sign 3. You talk to yourself out loud. Yeah, you heard me right. Geniuses talk to themselves all the time. And honestly, processing your thoughts out loud like that is a bit of a mental superpower. It's not something everyone can do effectively. When you're a genius, your thoughts move so fast and run so deep that vocalizing them actually helps you organize your mind, solve complex problems, and rationalize your ideas. So if you catch yourself having full conversations in an empty room, don't worry, you're just brainstorming. Sign 2. You are a proud pet owner. Did you know that having a pet is a massive indicator of intelligence? It all comes down to emotional intelligence. When you're stressed and you vent your frustrations to a pet that always listens, it actually helps you process distress and regulate your mood. Good emotional regulation is a huge marker of a brilliant mind. But here's where it gets really fun. Does the type of pet you have matter? According to a university study, people who describe themselves as cat people consistently scored higher on measures of general intelligence, self-reliance, and abstract thinking. They also scored high in openness, a trait heavily linked to high IQ. But don't worry, dog lovers, you guys aren't left out. The study found that dog people scored significantly higher in extroversion, warmth, and social boldness. This points straight to having incredibly high interpersonal intelligence. So whether you're team cat or team dog, having a furry friend is a sign of a highly capable mind. Sign 1. The half-moon mark on your thumbs. Finally, take a look at your hands. I'm talking about your actual fingernails here. If you look at your thumb and see a very distinct white half-moon shape right at the base of the nail, known as the lunula, it's often linked to shrinking logical reasoning and intelligence. The more prominent and defined that little white curve is, the more analytical your brain tends to be. It's actually a pretty rare physical marker across the globe, similar to having blue eyes. Interestingly enough, demographic data shows this specific nail trait shows up quite frequently in people from Western regions like the United States, Canada, and parts of Europe. So hey, maybe it's fair to say we Western folks have some serious natural brain power. So, out of these 10 different signs, how many of them actually sound like you? Drop your score in the comments below. I'd love to see how many geniuses we have watching today. Also, if you want to actually test your IQ, let me know in the comments and I'll make that my next video. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one.